Hey, so I'm going to address something about my company, Petersen Games, that is hopefully of interest or utility to those of you who just want to know what it's like for me, or if you were interested in doing this kind of thing yourself someday. And the question obviously is, why is Cthulhu Wars so expensive? And why did it take so long to bring to market? I mean, it took like a year and a half or more from the time that we did the Kickstarter to when it came out. So what's wrong with Sandy anyway? So first, let's go back into the origins of Cthulhu Wars. What had happened is that I had spent a year and a half earning $0 at a small failing iPhone app company making games. I designed games for it too, but the company didn't go anywhere, and it took a lot of money out of me putting into it to try to keep it going. And I said, okay, I need money. I'm getting older. It's the natural state of humanity. We don't get younger over time, more is the pity. And so I need something to support myself in my feeble old age. And I said, my friends talked me into doing the Cthulhu Wars board game. I mean, I came up with the name of it and everything, and I did all the design, but one of them, Richard Long, he did the art, and Rob Atkins helped basically goad me into doing it and helped organize the Kickstarter campaign. And my idea was that Cthulhu Wars would give me a side source of income in the future. It would score maybe $200,000, $300,000 if I was lucky. I was really hoping. And I had actually already accepted a job offer from a company in India, of all places. I was going to go to India for a year, maybe 2 years, and work there as sort of the fun budsman for an Indian game company with their things. They wanted an expert in making fun games to be there and do that, and they perceived me as an expert, so I was going to go there. It was a really good deal. It was a 6-digit salary. I was getting a share of the company. I was getting my own driver because they said, you don't want to drive in Hyderabad, just don't do it. So I said, okay, get my own apartment. It was going to be cool. Plus me and my wife love Indian food, so all was set to go. Looked like it was a done deal. Then I put out Cthulhu Wars Kickstarter to get that extra $200,000 or $300,000 at a little ongoing trickle of income. But it did really well. It got over $1 million. So I called the Indians and I said, sorry, I can't come. I got to manage this. It's going to be my new vocation. But what was going on here was that, in my opinion, this was going to be the very last game that I would ever design that was my idea that I'd come up with. It was going to be probably my last Cthulhu game, because I was going to be doing iPhone games, from India. So I wanted it to be my dream game, my ultimate Cthulhu game. And so one of the things I wanted in this was to have figures that were 28 millimeter scale so I could use them in role-playing games, because I really wanted to have those cool big toys. I wanted to feature an aspect of Lovecraft that I was always interested in that no one had ever done a game on, which is what happens after Cthulhu rises. I thought this would be my swan song, my very last thing, but instead it became my phoenix of rebirth. It recreated me, and now here I am doing games. And who knows what the future holds for Petersen Games, but at the moment we're still plugging along and making more games, and my life is completely different from it was before. And we had this game that had these great big figures. Cthulhu was 8 inches high, for example. The figures had to be pieced together. The most complicated piece was actually Shub-Niggurath. She had 11 parts he had to glue in. And the game took a long time to produce. The company in China had never done anything like it. They had never done a game as big and complex. They never had figures this big. So the fact that it took a long time to produce wasn't really their fault. They had to come up with new methods of creating the game and more power for them that they figured it out. I've since been told that we became kind of a prestige product for some Chinese companies, at least. Those companies that made games that sold, like hundreds more thousands than Cthulhu Wars, but they wanted Petersen Games to be in their product line because it was prestigious. So there it is. So anyway, we came up with this game. It was big and complicated and took forever, and we had to survive on essentially no income for the year and a half or more until it came in, because we had no product to sell. So we actually almost lost our shirt on the original Cthulhu Wars. Yeah, it was 1.4 million. in the first place. It wasn't really 1.4 million because that was the gross, and Kickstarter took a cut, which they should, and credit cards took a cut, which I guess they should, and some people's credit cards didn't fulfill, so we took a bath on that. We lost like 11 or 14%. Anyway, we got a little over $1 million, and then we grossly underestimated how much it would cost to ship the thing. We charged only $45 to ship it, and a large number of our backers wanted the all-in option, which is great, in which you got like 30 different sets of figures or something. You can look at all the unboxing videos online to see how amazed everyone was about what we'd given them. So we weren't just shipping this one big Cthulhu Wars box. We were shipping several gigantic boxes filled with plastic and cardboard for this low price. Cthulhu Wars alone was like 11 pounds, I think. And if you add in the other stuff, it was like 30 or 40 pounds. That's really expensive. So it cost a lot to ship. It cost a lot to buy. It cost a lot to manufacture. So why would anyone play a game as massive as Cthulhu Wars so overpriced? I mean, I can play 2-minute Dino Deal for just $15. Why should I pay more than 10 times as much for Cthulhu Wars? Well, since I'm the designer, I can't sit here and just say, my game's great, without seeming like an egomaniac. I mean, yes, I'm an egomaniac. Designers generally are, but I don't want to seem like one. So I'm going to quote other people I've never met. And just read these. This is what these people have said. I don't know these guys. This is what they say about my game. You can see from these quotes that people really like Cthulhu Wars. I have so far received 2 outright negative reviews that I know of. There might be others, but both of them are from people who said in the review that they hadn't played it. They based their bad review on one of 2 things, or 2 usually. First is, well, it costs a lot. And I said, and the answer is yes, it costs a lot. That's the nature of a game like this. We aren't gouging anyone on the price. In fact, there's a standard cost multiplier that goes into making games, and Cthulhu Wars is at the very low end of that multiplier. We're making less proportionally than most games, like Uno, for example. Now, Cthulhu Wars also something gets dinged because they say, well, Lovecraft's really overdone. There's another Lovecraft game. I mean, I agree that Lovecraft's overdone, but really, I'm the guy that started Lovecraft gaming, so it seems like I should be allowed to do more Lovecraft. And why can't I do it because someone else did a Cthulhu racing game or whatever, right? So when you get Cthulhu Wars, it's made as a luxury product. If you're a gamer, just feeling the pieces, you know it's solid. The cardboard tokens are 3 millimeters thick instead of 2 millimeter, which is the industry standard. You can really feel the difference. One of the ways that I sold Cthulhu Wars at conventions, people would come by and say, oh, I don't know, it's expensive, but it looks really good. I said, feel these tokens. And I pick up some of the cardboard counters, like the spell books and stuff. I said, feel these. Feel the elder signs. And they're gamers. They instantly knew. They go, oh, yeah, this is solid. They didn't always buy the game, but they knew it was a solid product. Now, I have other games which are also overproduced and expensive. They're that way for the same reason Cthulhu Wars is. I like 28 millimeter scale figures. I can use them other purposes, and I literally think it's more fun when I plop a big thing down on the tabletop. When you take Cthulhu 8 inches high and you slam him on the table, that's a statement, and that's part of the fun. But, you could argue, what about that super high price? Isn't it taking you out of the market? I need to pay for clothing or gas money and my rent. I can't afford to blow $200 on a single game. I'm sympathetic. I do not think that every game ought to be a gigantic luxury product. But I think it's okay for a gamer to have 1 or 2 things like this on his or her shelf. Look, when I go out to eat and I order lobster instead of a hot dog, I don't complain about how it's super expensive. I mean, I kind of knew that going in. If I buy a Cadillac instead of a Yugo, I don't complain that the Cadillac costs more. I might complain that the Yugo has mechanical problems. If the Cadillac has mechanical problems, I'm gonna complain more. And let's face it, a $10 game that you buy and then you never play actually is more expensive than a $200 game that you play every few weeks. You got some value out of the $200 game. Cthulhu Wars has a hidden power behind it because of the amazing look of the game and its reputation, which is partly fueled by the price. I agree. When you take Cthulhu Wars out at a convention or a board game store, you can almost always get people to look at it, to come over and want to play. Unless, of course, the store is hosting a Magic tournament. Nothing gets those guys out of their silos. Now, one acquaintance of mine said Cthulhu Wars isn't for beginners, but I have lots of fans that disagree. Some people say it's the only multiplayer game their girlfriend will play, and the rules are actually really simple, though the interactions are super subtle. In fact, I have listened to people saying that Cthulhu Wars cost a lot, and I've taken steps to make other games cheaper. I can't do it by lowering my margin, because the margin is already rock bottom, but Planet Apocalypse and Hyperspace are $100 games. That's half Cthulhu Wars' price. They've also gotten rave reviews. So here's a secret of me as a designer. I love good reviews. Bad reviews make me sad. I know I've been doing this for 40 years. I should be inured to the bad reviews. But I'm not. I'm not calloused about it. It still stings me, you know. So Hyperspace is tragically delayed due to global conditions, but it has more than twice as many figures in the box as Cthulhu Wars, yet we're able to do it cheaper. Part of that, we don't have like the behemoth old one figures, right? But Cthulhu Wars does have those. So the reason Cthulhu Wars costs a lot, despite our low margins, is because it's worth a lot. The figures are huge and solid. The production quality is huge. The replay value is huge. Rich Long, who did the art, was paid extremely well for his art. I don't begrudge a penny. This is not a game that sits on your shelf, at least not typically. I make no apologies for it. If you want a less expensive horror game by Sandy Petersen, I recommend one of my other products. But Cthulhu Wars, at least for the indefinite future, is still my dream date.